Hello and welcome back. In today's lecture, we will talk about three more principles of Fayol's managerial principles. So the first one in today's lecture is seventh principle, remuneration of employees. Fayol insists that factory should pay fair and equitable salary and wages to the workers and employees. Now, what is fair and equitable? Fair and equitable pay means, first let's talk about fair. A worker comes to the factory, stays in the factory and does a shift, full shift, maybe for 8 hours. And after the shift, let's say he also does a bit of overtime, maybe for 2 hours. So a worker has spent 10 hours of his or her time and given it to this company, given it to this factory. He may also do this for 25 days or 26 days in a month like this. So for all the work that the factory has taken from the worker, it should pay the worker in a fair basis. You may have seen a lot of companies extract a huge amount of work from the workers and they pay very less amount of money back to the workers. It creates a sense of dissatisfaction and it lowers the motivation of the employees and they won't even feel like coming back to the factory. It will not give a good returns to the factory itself, not give a good returns to the company in the long run. So Fayol advocates that if the worker is giving you a great amount of output, reward the worker adequately, give them a fair wage. So that's the first point. Second point is avoidance of disproportionate pay across the organization. Again, when you grow up and when you get into job, you may also see this type of tendency that in many companies, the people at the top receive a disproportionately high wage and people at the bottom, they receive disproportionately low wage. You may see the guys at the top management may have like extreme posh cars, they will have private flights, they will get access to all premium perks, but at the same time, the same factory, the people at the operational level might not even get minimum wage. They won't get the basic perks, they won't even get the safety equipment that they are supposed to be provided with. They will be risking their lives and will be working. So Fayol says that avoid this disproportion. So that's the seventh principle of Fayol. Now let's go to the eighth principle, centralization and decentralization. We talked about the same point in one of our previous lectures. So what is centralization and decentralization? Centralization of power and control and decentralization of power and control. I'll repeat the example. Let's see if you can recollect. In one of the companies that I went for audit in my articleship, this managing director, he was an MD of a small company. It's his own company. For namesake, it was registered as a company and it worked as a company, but in essence, it was like a sole proprietor establishment because the managing director was everything in that company. He will come to the finance department once or twice a week. The finance manager will accumulate all the checks, whatever the payments that are supposed to be processed. He will give it to the managing director. He will verify each and every invoice for which payment is to be made. And he will finally authorize the checks and he will be the signatory for the check. It doesn't matter if the check is for 1,000 rupees or if the check is for 1 crore rupees. Every check has to go from the managing director only. So that's how that company worked. And also every other aspect that managing director kept under his control. So the chances of frauds taking place inside that company without the MD's knowledge was very less. That's the advantage. But the MD also worked like a typical accounts executive because it's his regular part of job that he has to sit and verify checks. He's the one who's finally processing the payment. But I have also gone to other listed companies, extremely big companies, where there were clear division of work, which means the control has been spread across employees. In the decentralized companies, the MD will do only minimal level of work, he will do only big level of work. For processing vendor payments, say worth rupees 20,000, 25,000 or 30,000, if I have to issue such checks, the MD won't even care about that because he has given a part of that control to the lower level of employees. So a finance executive, an accounts executive, accounts payable assistant manager will process the payment. He will make the signature in the check. So the control has been given. So the power has been decentralized, which means people at the middle management or even at the lower level management can make their own decision. Again, this goes back to the one of the previous principles on authority, which means in decentralized companies, you will see authority being distributed across the organization. In the centralized companies, like the example that I gave you, almost the entire control was with the managing director, which means it's a heavily centralized company. People at the lower level were like mere players. They did not have much authority. They had all responsibilities. They had to fulfill lots of tasks, but they did not have a free hand to do what they want to do. So that's the centralization and decentralization principle. But the takeaway of this principle is, which one is good? Centralized structure is good or decentralized structure is good? My opinion is both have their own pros and cons. It depends on situation to situation. If you own the business and if you have the belief that you can let go of the control and you can trust the people beneath you in the organization, then yes, it is good to decentralize your control, decentralize your business so you can focus on the more important aspects of the business. But again, if the people working under you are not so trustworthy or you are more of a control person, then I will say keep it like a centralized form of organization. And then also there are some industries where only centralized structure will work. For example, things like defense. You cannot spread your authority across a regiment, or you cannot make the people take decisions. It is very highly regimented, highly centralized. People at the top will almost have every command or every power to make any decision. So that is principle number 8, centralization and decentralization. Now let's talk about scalar chain, the next principle. I would like you to see this diagram. What Fayol talks about is, in scalar chain, a company will have multiple chains of command. I didn't draw the chains of command too much and want to confuse you. Just for the sake of simplicity, I have just written 2 chains of command, which are marketing and finance. Each is a function and also each is a chain of command, which means if you see the marketing VP, he controls the general manager of marketing, and then GM controls the deputy manager of marketing, and then deputy manager controls the executive of marketing. And then the same way it works for finance department as well. Now what this scalar chain talks about is that, let's say the executive of marketing wants a data from executive of finance. He cannot directly reach executive of finance. He has to submit the request to DM. He will pass it on to GM. He will pass it on to VP. He will pass it on to CMD. CMD is chairman and managing director. So he is at the head of the company. Then CMD will talk that to VP finance. Then they will go to GM. Then it will go to DM. Then it will go to executive. Again, from executive of finance will not directly reply to executive of marketing. He will give the answer to DM, GM, VP, CMD, VP, GM, DM and executive. For each and every communication, it should go like the same way if it is scalar chain. Now imagine how inefficient this is. But this is what Fayol has recommended. In modern day, communication does not work like this. It is not this hierarchical. It will not be this slow. When I used to work, let's say I was an executive in finance department, but if I wanted a data from executive marketing, I can directly drop a single mail to the executive of marketing, and directly the executive marketing will give me the data back. But let's say if I wanted a data from general manager of marketing, then what will happen? I cannot directly reach the general manager of marketing. So what I'll do, I will submit the request to DM finance or GM finance because they are in my department. GM finance will talk to GM marketing, get the reply back, get the data back, and then GM finance will forward it to me. This is how modern day communication works. But anyway, this is pretty much theory only, a scalar chain, something that Fayol has recommended long time back, but in today's modern corporate environment, it doesn't work that way. So I hope you understood these 3 principles. That's it for today's lecture. Let's talk about the further principles in the next video. Thank you and bye-bye.